look at all the lovely faces. Hello, gorgeous friends. It's so good to see you here. This call is going to be spectacular. I'm setting your expectations right now. I'm going to just start and hold on one second. A few people will join as they always do late, and I'll let them in as we go. Guys, please remember the rules. And for those of you that haven't been on one of these calls, I don't want any normal questions that you could find by Googling. I don't want to know what like the person's favorite book was. I don't want anything like that. I want quirky questions. I want the good stuff. I want the stuff that nobody would think to ask. So let's make this a really special call. If you've got a question, you know the rules, type in big caps question beforehand. Otherwise, I will just assume that you're chatting amongst yourselves, and I'll filter the questions through to Christian as the call goes on. I'm going to preface in my introduction that Christian has a Facebook group, right? And I instantly loved it. I wasn't aware of it. I noticed that a lot of narrators were enamored by Christian and loved the group. And I saw his About page. And this is when I just knew that I had to have him on Joe, because he says, we're the creative misfits, the comic book addicts and daydreamers, the gamers and artists and musicians who write our own code and play by our own rules. And I recognized a fellow weirdo from a mile away and thought, not only is he great, but he frees other people to unleash their inner 10-year-old. The person that we all were before we kind of followed the rules, and well, the person that most of us were. I have met people that I like to think they have a quirky weirdness underneath, but they've been following the rules so long, I don't know if they do. But Christian is free. And I want to find out how you became free, if you've always been free, of all the junk that they lay on us, all the things they tell us that we're supposed to do and we're supposed to be and we're supposed to say. I want to know how you created this group where people are brave and they're vulnerable and they're honest. I've never seen anything like that. And they rush to each other's aid, and there's something really, really special. And you've created it, and it all comes from a source. So 10-year-old Christian, what were you doing then?
10-year-old Christian, that's what you want.
Yeah. Let's start at the beginning.
Well, my goodness, the beginning is a good place to start. First of all, let me just say thank you so very much for carving out time in your schedule to have me and to really represent our group. I'm truly honored. And, you know, I think, you know, I'm looking, let me just give a few shout outs. I just can't help it, Daniela, you know, okay. Tammy Robert, Amy Bartoloni, Lisa, there you are. Like, I'm amongst family here, so I feel at home.
If I didn't have you on, Lisa Ware would pretty much like ruin my name in the community, basically. She's been pushing me to have you on for ages. Christian? I think you've frozen for a moment. Christian, I've got somebody else. I will let Nancy in as we speak. But Christian, we've lost you. Can everyone else wave your hands if you're not frozen? Not frozen. Okay. Let me type. I hope he's not talking away thinking that we're hearing him. You do know, guys, that I'll just tell jokes for the entire 58 minutes left. Okay, I only know one joke, but it's really, really, really funny. Christian. Oh, I know, right? Because do you know exactly what would happen? Like, I don't ever get that attractive, kind of sedate look. I would have my mouth open, drool coming out, and then I'd be frozen. He's logged off. Maybe he's logging back in. Okay, guys, jokes. 2 peanuts walking down the street. One was assaulted. That's the best I got. The other ones I couldn't do without doing child censorship. Hi, Nancy. Okay, guys, somebody come on real quick and tell me what your experience of Christian's group has been. Lisa? Anyone? While we're waiting for Christian?
Fine. Put me on the spot. I will though.
I
Because
think
I
we've
know
lost him.
Amy won't. Tammy might. But there's Tammy. We might be able to get Tammy on too. But I'm happy to talk about the superhero group Christian in general while we wait for him to rejoin. I'd also love to have Tammy pop in, because you should have Tammy on here just as her own person also, just saying.
Okay, okay. Hi, Tammy.
She's pretty amazing. Consider this the official introduction. Daniela, Tammy.
So
Amy's another
you guys
good one.
all
She's
know,
on here
that's what
hiding
astounds
somewhere
me.
too.
The people in the group are like best friends at another level than people
It
in
is.
most groups.
No,
Why?
it really is. It really is completely and totally like a family. I don't know, because we are all the creative misfits. It really is a place where you feel totally safe being a middle-aged nerd or an 11-aged nerd or anything in between, or not knowing what you are or who you are, where you want to be, or any of that stuff, and it's all okay. It's
Hold
like
on.
this ultimate creative safe space. It's weird.
How long?
And
No,
then
it's been
there's the
going on for a
dojo,
long
but I'll let
time.
Christian talk about all that stuff. What?
How long has it been going on for?
He started it, Tammy can answer this, I believe was August of 2020.
Okay, Tammy,
Yeah,
you gotta
so-
speak. Lisa's setting you up here. You've got no
She's
choice.
unmuted.
Okay. Okay, I'm here.
Lisa out.
Yeah, so can you hear me? Just making sure.
Yep.
Okay, great. So Christian started it was at the time Superheroes Unleashed group towards the end of August of 2020. And I think I joined like maybe 2 weeks later. And shortly after that, so I'm going to take you through the progression.
Okay.
I'm hoping not stepping on Christian's toes when he walks in.
We've got time anyway, because he's restarting
this is his spotlight. So, but within honestly, like a month of a whole bunch of people being in that group, we started working on an anthology. So that really pulled a lot of people together, and Christian and I became fast friends, and we started, partnering up with this anthology, and then we started the dojo. And I think that's where a lot of the family feel came into place. Yes, thank you, Lisa. That's the book
I love that.
that we published. I'll let Christian, you can ask him all about that. But we really became a real family when we started the dojo. And Christian's going to talk about all about that too. I don't want to, like I said, talk over him when he comes on. So
we got him, and then we
he's
lost
probably
him
having to restart his computer. I texted him, so I know he's had some computer issues these past few weeks. But like when we started the dojo, it's based on the Aikido philosophy of peace and harmony. And we try to help people through resetting their mindset with lessons and sensory guided meditations and experiences that we've had in our own lives. And someone had coined the phrase dojo family. And that's really what we really are. It seems like every other month we're taking it up a notch. We started with a white belt class, and then a yellow belt, and then an orange belt, and so we've helped actually hundreds of people.
Okay.
Yeah, we've helped hundreds of people from around the world, and it's been quite a thrill and quite exciting, and to get to know so many superheroes. Yeah.
And I could not have done it without Tammy.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know you were back. I'm sorry.
No, I could just listen to you all day. Thank you, Tammy.
Christian,
Okay.
we filled the time when we lost you. I told a great joke, and they were just laughing their heads off. And then, but I thought, too much humor. Let someone else. floor.
Well, there are times, Daniela, when life glitches on you and things
Yep.
freeze up, and that
I had
happened
to
to
do
me. And
a
if it
whole
happens
call.
again,
No, we were okay. I had to do a whole call. One of my writers came on and her video and sound didn't work. So she had to type all her answers in and I had to be both of us. And we still did it. So, okay, 10-year-old Christian. And Tam, and it was
Yeah.
great because Tammy and Lisa both came on, sang your praises and gave us a quick intro of how the group started and how much they all love you and how wonderful it is. So 10-year-old Christian.
Okay, so what was the question again, Daniela? 10-year-old Christian
Yeah, where
knew
did
nothing.
how did you become?
40-year-old Christian knows nothing.
Well, what did you want to be when you were 10? What were you thinking when you were 10? What was I have a theory that the best of us starts when we're 10, even if it's their defense mechanisms or we're having a rotten time, that who we kind of are in the world kind of starts when we're 10, 8,
Okay.
9, 10. I'd love to hear what your dreams and thoughts were when you were 10.
I wanted to change the whole wide world, Daniela. That's what I wanted to do at 10. I wanted to slay dragons and I wanted to rescue princesses.
Were you reading books and watching a lot of TV? Were you one of those kids?
Oh, very much. So I come from an academic background. My father surrounded me with all kinds of stories. I grew up learning Latin and Greek and French and reading not just in English, but in other languages. English is beautiful, of course. But, if you really want to describe something, go to the Greek. The Greek language and even the German language is so much more expressive. And so I was raised in a house that valued books and stories. And it gave me a great love for storycraft and world building. And so that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to change the world.
So your parents gave you the room to soar? Did your parents believe in you and have, it sounds like they did, if they raised you reading all those books and learning all those languages, it sounds like
they did.
Yeah.
But as 10 goes to 11 and 11 goes to 19 and 19 goes to 20 and you start making mistakes and you sort of grow up, don't you? And you stop believing in fairy tales. And for me, really to your question, the Superpowers Unleashed group, it grew out of a place of great woundedness for me and brokenness. Of course, the whole world changed. My whole world changed. And people lost jobs. I lost my job. I was a teacher and a professor for many years. I wanted to get my PhD at 29, which I did. I was very ambitious. But sometimes things glitch, don't they?
When you were ambitious, were you happy? Were you still the 10-year-old boy, or was that past the dream part and was that in the real world part ambitious?
10-year-old boys don't pay bills and they don't worry about mortgages.
Yeah.
And I respect the boy that I was, but I very much enjoyed the man that I became.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
But
what did you want to be when you were 10? Well, I feel like I'm on the spot here. I know I'm being interviewed, but
I think it's fascinating, and you're telling me exactly, because I was a little slower than most in figuring out that I couldn't just do everything I wanted to do and be what I wanted to be, and nobody was going to stop me and screw the world. And then it was a bit of a harsh shock. And I think that's why I ask everyone this question, because I'm fascinated by that point where and I see so many other people to fit into the tribe, learn the lesson, and bury that 10-year-old deeper and deeper and deeper. And I think the 10-year-old has a lot to say to us and a lot to teach us. And I think the trick is learning how to conquer the world, but bring that initial kind of purity with us. And I think it's very difficult. And I think I think you're so right. I don't think anybody just goes unvarnished with, you know, their pure self through life. You know, they wouldn't be interesting if they did. The breaks and the wounds are what makes us who we are. But then I think the people that I've met, the narrators that have a million different careers, and they've come from a shady past, and they grew up reading books in cubby holes, and they've all been broken, and they've all gone, hold on, and grabbed their 10-year-old. I wanted to be this person. I wanted to do this. And I think that stitching together, that's why I think your group is so amazing, and that's why I admire people, but you're one of the only people I've ever seen that says what you're doing, because I think that's what a lot of people are doing. They're overcoming the trauma of having to lose themselves. But you say it. You say it's trauma. We're going to do, and that's amazing to me. That's brave. And you've given people a safe place to say it as well. Am I getting this completely wrong? Or were you always a person that could just say, well, this is the way it is? Or did you have to fight your way back to realize, you know, openness, authenticity, honesty, all buzzwords, but for a reason, right?
No, you're exactly correct. You know, there's several things that make a superhero. One of them is that you have to be an ordinary person in your context. And the second thing is that you have to experience what story crafters call an inciting incident, a trauma. Something has to break in your life. Whether that's physical abuse, whether that's a divorce, whether that is some kind of depression, whether that's a car accident or a health diagnosis. You know, when I was 30, I started a series of operations on my digestive system to correct 12 years of bleeding with ulcerative colitis.
Oh, God.
And it almost killed me. And it was there, sort of in the black, bottomless pit of that abyss of suffering, just daily suffering, that I found myself. And I had to make a decision. Do I let this trauma define me, or do I let this trauma refine me? And what I find, Daniela, is that there's a lot of people just like me who have been through hell and have somehow kept going. They've lost their child, or they've lost something important to them and precious to them. And I wanted to carve out a space where people could genuinely, authentically express that and be that. And we can transform that together. It's about pivoting, I think, on the axis of pain and channeling all of that suffering to a better end and to a greater good. And that's not easy. And so one of the, you know, I see so many people right now. I'm looking at Tammy and I'm looking at Amy. Hey, Amy, how are you? And I'm looking at Lisa. I see you, Lisa, in your dragon there. Come on. And it just warms my heart because I know that each of them has transformed their own trauma and they have stepped into their own like superpowers. And that is so beautiful. And so I wanted to carve out in this world a space where they could do that, you know, in a way that feels like family. You know, I get emotional talking about it because it's so beautiful. But I think this world needs kindness, and it's so contagious. And I wanted to.
And emotion. I mean, your emotion, your courage, because I do think everyone has significant pain at one point or another. You don't get out of this life. I mean, you've got to be the most boring person on earth if you really live a charmed life. You want some. What is that thing? The Chinese or the Japanese, where if they crack I think maybe it was Lisa that told me about this. I might be wrong. Where they crack a mug or a teacup, and instead of like just putting it back together, they put they paint it with a different paint color gold, because the break is part of the beauty. And you give people
Yes.
permission to do that. And also you use creativity. Creativity is like a magic superpower, isn't it?
Well, it is. And you're right. It's the Japanese, this idea of kind of wabi-sabi, that we shine through the broken places. I was in a little city once called Hiroshima.
Were you in
It was a
Hiroshima?
place. Yes. And it was a place that had once been a thriving city and was suddenly incinerated. And of course, I'm not a political person. I never taught politics, but I think about my experience there, and I saw some of those pieces of pottery and some of those families that had been suddenly vanished. Shadows remain. And I think about that, and I think about how we do shine through the broken edges, and we do that because jagged things have a glimmer to them. When something is broken, it's serrated, and it's not perfect. And that's what I'm attracted to in people. That's what I immediately look to in people. I want to know where they're broken, not necessarily to fix them, but to be with them in their brokenness and to provide a place where together that brokenness can be transformed into something very beautiful.
Now, I'm assuming your condition, did it cause chronic pain? I'm studying a lot about chronic pain at the moment, and I mean everything, like there's some German theory and about the mind, that if you've suffered trauma, I'm not going to go into the whole thing, but some doctor's son died, and 6 weeks later he got cancer, and he was a cancer specialist, and it made him think he was healthy his entire life, and that's an awfully weird coincidence. And he started studying lesions on people's brains that they'd had a trauma right before, and he could map the symptoms and the disease to different sections of the brain depending on the type of trauma, like separation caused one thing. And I'm fascinated by how much do we contribute to the pain? How much does the way we think about our past and our mental feelings make the pain or the symptoms worse? Not that it's in your head, because your body is really reacting and everything, obviously, and how people grow and survive chronic pain. Yeah. Because I've experienced chronic pain, and I think the most debilitating part, I mean, I might be wrong, isn't the actual pain. It's the fear of not knowing what's wrong, if it's going to get better, and if you're going to it's your mortality. You face your mortality, don't you?
Well, you have to. And that's when a girl becomes a woman and a boy becomes a man. When you face it and it faces you, and you look it in the eyes. And none of us get out of this alive. Don't think we're not immortal unless we're authors and writers. Only writers are immortal.
I'm not sure.
And vampires. Vampires are immortal.
Long enough, Christian, they could find a cure.
Well, maybe so. Maybe they can cryogenically find a cure.
Yeah.
No, but pain. Pain refines the shallow places in our life. It burns it off. When you talk to someone, and if you have even an ounce of empathy in you, you can feel someone's pain. It's really what they don't say, isn't it? Rather than what they do say. And what they do say cuts to the bone of it. And for me in my life, I bled about 4 hours, 5 hours every single day in the bathroom.
Oh, God.
With a bleeding colon that eventually was removed. And that was the dragon that, 10-year-old Christian could not have handled that. It took a more mature Christian to do that. And I meet people who it's not just the suffering though, right? I mean, ordinary people, everyone suffers in some way. And we're not comparing suffering, but it's that pivoting, right? It's Batman who has seen his parents die, revisiting that cave that he fell into, right? We all have that cave of bats and whatever dark creatures that we're so primordially afraid of. When we face that head on, yes, that's what makes a good story and a good Greek tragedy. And Shakespeare knew that, and Hollywood knows that. But when we live it, and, I think the way we get through it simply is together.
Yeah.
We don't do it alone. We don't suffer alone. We suffer together, and we triumph together. And that's at the core heartbeat, Daniela, of Superpowers Unleashed. That's what we do. We are together through thick and thin, through loss and gain. That's the beating heart by which we march.
So you had the philosophy, the idea, the theory when you started the group. You made friends. Tammy was talking about how you became such close friends. Lisa's loved you from the day I've met you. You made friends. But how did the group change you? Because I'm assuming that it had to have taken you to another level, even from the original idea, experiencing it.
Yeah. I started with just like 10 people, and I was like, yes, oh my goodness, it's working. And then it grew to like 11 and 12 and 13 and 14. And I just couldn't believe it. I never envisioned anything like this ever happening. And I still wake up every morning and pinch myself because I have so many wonderful people who I call family. So it grew organically and it grew magically. In the Middle Ages, there was, before chemistry was, before the Renaissance, and there was really this Enlightenment era, people believed in something called alchemy. And alchemy is the process in the Middle Ages of turning an ordinary thing into something extraordinary, like a base metal into gold or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I see very much this kaleidoscopic alchemy of personalities and pain and beauty and triumph as almost like a stained glass window through which like the light can just splash this world with all the many colors of our superheroes. And that makes me happy. So I don't deserve it. I definitely didn't expect it. But every single day, I am so damn grateful for every one of these people in my life who continually refine the person that I am and make me more grateful for the person I want to be.
So who do you want to be? What do you strive for something? Do you wake up and just eat a grape and make it last an hour and enjoy the taste of the grape? Or do you do the whole mindfulness thing?
I want to be like Lisa. I want to be like Lisa.
We all want to be like Lisa.
Come on. Have you seen her rock? Like her rock? What would you call that, Lisa? I know you're muted, but like she has this amazing cliff behind her. And it's always been such an inspiring thing for me. She took one of our dojo classes, and I want to be an anchor in a rock and someone who can say more with silence than with words. I am a screenwriter and an author, and I do all of these things sort of on the side, but the heartbeat of me is people. And I love making people soar, and I love bringing out their superpowers. And seeing what makes people tick, Danielle, I noticed that you were sort of, if you don't mind me saying, kind of torn between the UK and LA, and you have such polypoccolated. Yeah. Which do you prefer?
Oh, I would never move back to America, like ever. Nothing against America. I miss Trader Joe's terribly, but
of course.
Yeah, I mean Trader Joe's, seriously, and eggnog. But I'm a person that moves somewhere and gets homesick within 3 months, and then spends the next 6 months packing the bags and losing weight and doing everything for my perfect life when I move somewhere else. And I did that almost all my life until I landed in London. And it was just now.
What do you love about London? Do you mind me asking?
Well, I'm right outside of it now, but London, you can get anything in the world and there's nothing that annoys me. So yeah, so I'm a London girl at heart. I'm from LA, but you're so funny because you're such a you're like interviewing me.
I'm so sorry. I can't help it.
You're uncomfortable. Are you uncomfortable in the spotlight?
No, it's not that. It's that I love London. So there's in Southwark is really, I lived in the UK for 3 years. And so
that's
one of the places
where I used to work. Did you go to the pubs there and everything?
Of course. Yeah. That's, that's Dickens' stomping grounds and, the Globe, but past Southwark, south, you go into some of those beautiful places down to Brighton, even in the coast. And it's a beautiful little island. We lived up in Scotland for a while. And
I would
it
kill
was
to live in Scotland. Kill. I married a Glaswegian.
I don't know, in the winter.
I wanted to live there. I literally married a Scottish guy to move to
Did
Scotland.
You really?
And he didn't.
What in the world could convince you to marry a Scot?
Well, I had a choice. We used to go to expat pubs and collect men with accents. My friend was from Swansea, from Wales, and she would pick up the different American men, different states and everything. We always went home alone together when dug out the horoscope books and like compared their horoscopes and how when we married them, we're very naive. But I had a choice between a guy from Birmingham, a guy from Manchester, a guy from Glasgow, and a guy from London. And my friend from Swansea said, don't choose the guy from Glasgow. They beat up their women. And
I don't know what that means, but I can assume having spent quite a lot of time in Glasgow, it's a thick accent, the Glasgow.
Yeah, they're nice people. They're good people. I chose the Glaswegian. I did.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah, he was a flirt.
Well, that's a proud heritage.
Like you know what, Christian? He was like you. He had star quality. He flirted with every single other person in the bar.
Oh my goodness, I'm not flirting. Give me a break. Come on, Daniela.
Flirting to me, I flirt with everyone I know. I think it scares people sometimes, but flirting to me is, I love people and I always see the beauty in everyone. And my husband's the same way. And I see that in you and it's that connection you get. And a true flirt, a good flirt has that connection with like the girl at the checkout line at the grocery store. Do you know what I mean? And I know I scare the hell out of people sometimes because I say things like, oh my God, you're gorgeous. And they're like, sorry, I don't know you. But I think we all need to hear. And people are so quick to say judgy things to each other, but if you say something nice to a stranger, they turn purple and scurry away. Maybe it's just me.
Well, you need to come to the South. You need to come to Alabama and Louisiana. New Orleans is where I'm based now.
Have you been to Alabama? I was madly in love with a man from Alabama once. I'd love to.
Well, they're madly lovable men in Alabama, every single one of them. Of course, they don't wear skirts like, the Glasgonians, but
exactly.
There's something about traveling that, there's something about listening to people who speak a different language than we do that it's so important, especially for kids, I think, Daniela, to be in a place of uncomfortability where you get this kind of genuine humility and curiosity, right? That's the word. And I've always tried to stay curious. And the more I know that I don't know much, like at all. I mean, I really don't, because I have a PhD in Victorian Studies, and it was then that I was like, I'm a white belt at life. There are people who have gone so far. What do you learn in Victorian
Studies?
Like, oh my goodness!
Do you learn?
You learn everything, because the Victorian era was like this massive optimism, like shot of steroids in the arm of the world. Everything was possible. They were inventing electricity and learning about atoms and that great optimism that, the Victorian era, particularly the mid to late Victorian era had. Not Edwardian, but that's really my forte. That's what I did my thesis on. And World War One hit and we lost something, that trauma, the trench warfare, we lost that Victorian excitement for life where you can just invent something, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the other day, Daniela, I converted
not women, right? It wasn't very nice to women, was it?
Well, history's not nice to women.
Yeah. But I'm just saying
we're trying to correct that,
Women couldn't invent things or come up with things or do things, could they?
A few of them. George Eliot did, but you're right. She had to publish under a man's name. Marian Evans did. And I don't know. Let me ask you. I'm not a woman. I don't know what that's like. Why is history nice to women? It's something I've always been curious about.
Because, my opinion, women, Mother Nature isn't nice to women. Mother Nature is actually a real cow. She basically loves us until we get right past the age where we can have kids, and then she couldn't care less. And she still makes men more attractive and more attractive because they're still useful to her, and I think it all comes down to biology. It's literally we're animals. And I love the idea of rising above that, but I do think that Mother Nature, that we're put here to breed. And the minute our usefulness is done, breeding, basically that's why women and the whole menopause thing and the health thing, everything goes downhill, including the looks, because nobody's gonna look at you anyway. You're not gonna give her kids. But men could still give her kids, and that's why they're good looking. But I'm not I am a bit of a feminist, but on the other hand,
all.
I was a tour guide at Victorian mansions where I grew up, and I used to dress up, and I say, oh, women didn't get to do anything, women didn't, but if the people that know me know that I did burlesque, I love the dressing up, the 50s, the 60s, I love that stuff. So I'm not a really proper feminist. The clothes, oh my God. Yes, I know they couldn't create wonderful things in the Victorian age, but how fun, except for the whole dying young and horrible childbirth and being treated badly and being sold and given away to men you hated. But the outfits were amazing. And getting to dress up the Christmas trees and the flat and the house, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I love the style.
I just need a second to digest that. Hold on.
This call is going to get me in trouble. I'm supposed to ask you all the questions. You've got me talking. I'm going to have to go and edit out anything I said that might be inappropriate.
So here's the thing, right?
Yes.
It does seem that women have always, and this is from a man's point of view. I can't help that. I can only see the world through my eyes. Sometimes I wish I could change that. And yet, do you know what they used to call a proper Victorian lady when she would go out in public, like to South London, up on Croydon Hill and all of that? They would call it to afternoonify oneself. There was a kind of, we've lost that word, but I love that word, afternoonify. It's one of my favorite words. There is a kind of dignity, and I know the underbelly of Victorian London. I know all of it. To be a lady is a very dignified thing, I think. And it has nothing to do with bearing children. I think Mother Nature gets that wrong, if you're right about that.
Oh, yeah, she's totally wrong. Her and I hate each other. We don't get along. But to be honest, I think I would have been a woman of ill repute in those days because they had way more fun. I'm sorry. It's
well, especially south of the Thames, right? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
But America owes so much to her British cousin, and I do try to remind people once in a while. But really, my passion now for the Victorian era has more to do with the idea and the philosophy of steampunk. I don't know how familiar you are with that.
I'm fascinated by it, and I really want to narrate steampunk, but I don't really understand what makes steampunk steampunk. So
it's the whole idea. It's very simple. It's the whole idea that it's an alternate history based on the idea that electricity was never like invented. So everything is steam driven, airplanes, balloons. So it's an alternate parallel universe. It's an alternate history. And what I love about it, besides, the corsets, and you have all of the, parasols, there is the fashion of it, of course. And I have mixed feelings about corseting anything in life.
Oh, I've got some gorgeous corsets, but that was the whole burlesque thing. You get me on that subject, we won't even get off this call alive. So keep going. Sorry.
Okay, well, it's the idea really of living inside out, of having the gears that make life work within us. Not on the inside, like an Apple iPhone, where it's sleek and shiny and super like cyberpunk. But on the inside, the gears are on the outside. That's what steampunk is. You can see the mechanisms that make it work. So when something is steampunked, you can see the gears. And I love that, because when people get to a stage where they're confident enough to wear their souls on their sleeves and to be authentically true to who they are, it's such a lovely afternoonified thing to see. And that's what I love very much. I just converted a clarinet into a lamp. And I totally geek out about stuff like this.
Wait,
because like if you
with light, an electric lamp.
Yes, like
by
lights
yourself.
up the room. Like I have an Edison bulb on top of an actual clarinet that I have made into a lamp, and it has blue lights on the inside. But the important thing is that on the outside are the keys of the clarinet. I don't know if you play an instrument or not, but it's that quality in people where there's not a facade. Where in burlesque, for instance, you're exposed and you're vulnerable, and in many ways, yes, you have to put on a show. All of us do, whatever we do in this world, but it's this beautiful kind of inner authenticity that the Victorian Empire represents, I think, and the steampunk impulse in society represents. And that's something that I very much love about superheroes. Yes, you're going to be Bruce Wayne. You've got to put on the glasses. But oh my goodness, when a guy like decides to take on the world, or a gal, and they strip that suit off and they go and save somebody else. Isn't that the point, Daniela?
Yeah.
We are not here for ourselves, are we? We're here to help other people. And those are the kind of people that I like to surround myself with. Steampunk, burlesque, whatever you want to call them.
I want to
people who are
steampunk
superheroes.
Now I want to narrate steampunk, but I'm a way more shallow than you are. I want to do it for the fashion. But I love the way you look at the world. I love the way you look at the sides and it's like you look at the sides and the corners of the world instead of straight on. You look at what's turning the knob and the dials behind everything, don't you?
Yeah, but I bet you do as well. I can imagine, Daniela, I don't know you. This is our first encounter, but I can imagine there are some beautifully broken places inside you, out of which something absolutely gorgeous grows. And
I think we're the same in a way, but I think it presents itself differently. I look at the sparkle. I love the sparkle. I love the shine. I love the magic. I love the surface. But you go straight past the surface. I really respect that. I think it's very cool. That's what great writers and artists do. They interpret the world differently than the rest of us, and the people that understand that language are attracted to it, aren't they? And what do you want to do next? Are you going to, what gives you the most creative fulfillment? Are you going to write more? What's your next thing?
Well, I don't know about tomorrow, but I know that today is what I have, and I have these short breaths. And if I can make your day better by this interview, then I will have considered it a day not ill spent.
Well, not
and
just mine,
tomorrow,
but the people watching it for the next 60 years.
Well, look at all these people. Look how look at all this. Look at Tammy. Look at Lisa. I don't know. I'm going to hover over their names and just see who they are. Kim, I don't know you, Kim. It's good to meet you. Karen. Hey, David, how are you? This is so breaking protocol. I know. Lauren.
No, but the thing
Hi,
that's
Lauren.
cool about it is you've got
Nancy.
the connection with the people in the audience. But what shocked me when I started these calls was they were only 4 of the 3 or 4 people that joined the calls. And then we did the playlist, and I think we're moving on 28,000 now viewing the videos. So and I've had people, complete strangers, come back and say, so-and-so said just the right thing to me at just the right moment when I needed to hear it. And that's the dream to me, having this big pool of people like Christian looking at life in a different way, and maybe just the right person that needs to hear just that, even if it's in 20 years, is going to come across it on YouTube, and it could fix everything. We've all had those times where somebody said something, you've read it in a book or seen it in a clip somewhere, and it's changed everything. So, and the things you've said on this call could change everything for someone. So I'm fascinated by the reach that we have. You've got your group, and you've seen the way you've transformed each other's lives by being in each other's lives, right? But each of those people moves on to transform someone else's life by presenting that philosophy. And just think of the ripples. And you like the gears and the steampunk, the mechanism behind it. Just think of what is it with the butterfly flaps its wings and it changes everything. I mean, think about how many butterfly wings you've let loose by your group, by coming on here today, by every time you talk to someone and support someone. It's that many people. And I just think if we all did that all the time, you know what I mean? We could.
Do you know what I discovered not long ago, Daniela? A dragonfly. So I live in New Orleans, and there's a lot of dragonflies. And I didn't know this until rather recently, that a dragonfly, I don't know about a butterfly, but a dragonfly will spend 90% of its life underground. And it's only the last 10% of its life that it gets to come above surface and spread its wings and like soar like an F-16 through the air and just be glorious. And in your life, Daniela, in our lives, and all of our lives, you never get too old to dream and to believe in fairy tales. And
I agree with that.
We waste our youth, don't we? Oh, we waste it on all the wrong things, and that's okay. We can't go back and do it over again, but it's just so beautiful to get to this stage. 10-year-old Christian was fine. He was a little jerk, but like, give me someone who life has beat up and who they have surfaced and they have risen from the dead and they have spread their wings. And it's that person that I want to help soar. Yeah. And that's what I'm committed to do. And you're right. Our target audience has probably yet to be born, whether we're authors or screenwriters or whatever we do. I always try to keep a broad view and to think that, you know, the people that we maybe most help aren't even conceived yet. And yet we still do what we do, because it's not about us, is it? It's really about them.
So maybe I should edit out the part where I said that women might as well give up because Mother Nature couldn't care less about us.
Well, Mother Nature has a reckoning herself. You know, let's take the broad view. So Mother Nature has it coming. Let her do her thing, because in several billion years, our sun is going to become a red giant and Mother Nature will have a reckoning. But we can embrace the things that we resist and that hurt us. Isn't that the key, I think?
Yeah. And also, I've got the last laugh. I've unfriended her on Facebook. I've got makeup. I'm gorgeous. And I'm going to live till I'm 99 years old and be like that woman in New York with the big glasses. Iris Iris Alpri. Okay, New Orleans, real quick, because I've got a last question I always ask, but I need to know about New Orleans because I never got there. First of all, how do I pronounce it? Because it's in every damn book I've ever done, and I always have to look it up 17 times on YouTube. New Orleans?
It depends if you're here or if you're there. If you're from London, you pronounce it New Orleans. If you're from here, you pronounce it New Orleans.
New Orleans. So if I'm doing
New
a book
Orleans,
in America,
one word.
And I want it authentic, it's New Orleans.
Well, it's one word, New Orleans, apostrophe Orleans. That's what you call it. But if you're from somewhere else, it's New Orleans, of course. Yeah.
So if I'm doing an American book based in
New Orleans, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know.
So we can always tell outsiders because they say New Orleans. But we can tell someone who lives here from New Orleans. Yeah. And I haven't lived here long, but it's a beautiful place. Actually, well, so my wife grew up here, but we moved here, I guess it was a year and a half ago or so. We're still unboxing. Does she have an
accent? Does she have a New Orleans accent?
No, she doesn't. No, she doesn't. And some of that Acadian French influence. You know, I bought the 16th century armoire, and it's like a Louis the 13th, and it's just that French like presence is so thick here. I thought it was fitting because everywhere you go, people speak in this sort of Cajun, like French American, Acadian, and you can draw a line from Europe to New Orleans much easier than you can from Europe to anywhere else in North America. And there's a Spanish influence, and you know.
Do you go to Mardi Gras every year? Do they still do it?
Well, yes. COVID? They didn't last year, but so far they're going to do it this year. Yeah, we'll see. And it gets a little wild. Yeah.
Is it?
The necklace,
like a massive
the beads.
Carnival? And
of course it is. Yeah.
I'm so jealous. It's such a fascinating place. I'm just so fascinated by it.
Do you know what? It's a place you should come visit. Come visit. Because it's a place where you can just be yourself, however you look. There's no dress code in New Orleans. You can do whatever you want to do. And there's something beautiful about that, you know, and my soul is always drawn to places where people can just be who they really are without judgment or opinion.
Yeah, I like the beads they wear. I like
Yeah.
I would drape myself. Well, okay. So to the important stuff. This is a question I ask every guest. In school, they have those, every single time I forget what they call them. Time lock. What, Lisa? What? Oh, yeah, beignet. I've always wanted to try one of those. Capsule. Time capsule. Thank you. You need to come on every single call, Lisa, please. And Nancy. Okay, so, you know, in schools, they bury time capsules. And everyone puts a little something in it so that like in 10 years, they're going to dig it up and it's something to remember the time by or remember the person by. What would you like to put in our time capsule so that the YouTube audience in 60 years or so, you know, final wise words, a funny joke, probably this audience is rough. I tried a joke, they didn't laugh. I would maybe miss the joke then. Oh, I'd love chicory. Okay, you guys are killing me here. So final words of wisdom. What would you like to leave people with to put in that time capsule that they'll see?
Okay. Nothing at all. I want them to dig that up and I want them to open it and there to be absolutely nothing at all.
Nothing.
Because nothing at all. Nothing at all. Because, and I want them to take a lot of effort to dig it up because there's so much dense treasure in discovering the beauty of emptiness and silence, the blank canvas. And I mean, that would be like a sucky day to dig up a time capsule that didn't have anything in it, right? But that's what we need. We need silence, and we need to learn to embrace the silence, and we need to learn to embrace the emptiness in ourselves and to always stay curious.
I get why you're friends with Lisa now. Because what is
Lisa's just amazing.
there's I can never remember the name of it. What's that thing you follow, Lisa? Starts with an S. That's what Christian just reminded me of. Stoicism.
Oh,
That's what you
well, I
just
hope I'm not
reminded
too
me
much
of.
of a stoic. I'm quite the Epicurean if you push me, especially around Mardi Gras.
I love
Yeah.
that. You appreciate all sides, which is good, which is great.
Thank you. And thank you for having me on your show. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you for creating the group. I confess that with this Cup of Joe, I'm 3-minute attention span and everything else. So I don't involve myself as much if I'd had more time in groups as I'd like to. But I see how much you help people. And it's just having someone that's that benevolent of a presence out here these days. I think we need more of that.
That's a great kindness. Thank you. Thank you. I am leading a masterclass, and I would forget myself if I didn't mention it. Tammy and I are leading it together, and Amy as well. Amy, are you still with us? In March, if you're interested in,
Yes.
It's about $3,000 of content for $57 in March, and reach out to me.
Do you have a link or something? Okay, we'll
Absolutely.
put it in the about
I'll forward
section. Everyone, if you're watching this video, the link is going to be in the about section of the video. You can find it there, and you can. What was I going to say? I completely lost myself. So yes, so highly recommended. Great followers. Everyone loves Christian, the classes, the group. I will link. Are you comfortable with me linking the Facebook group in the about section?
Yeah, that would be totally fine as well. And Lisa has been with us, and so absolutely, I'm very fine with that. Yeah.
Okay, so highly recommended, you guys. This guy's the real deal, and thank you so much, Tammy and Lisa and everyone for saving the day when we lost Christian in the beginning, but it was great. It was almost like we planned it, like they were like the promo for how wonderful.
Well, sometimes we have to lose ourselves to find ourselves. And I found myself with these people, and Amy too. Big shout out to Amy.
I love it. Well, make sure that we get the video out in plenty of time for people to sign up with you. And everyone, if you're watching this video, check the about section. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daniela.
Thanks so much.
It was a lovely chat.
Fabulous. Take care. Bye. Bye.
Bye.